As you identify the things you should be doing, you're also, as a result, going to be identifying things that you do that you shouldn't be doing, right? Because you can't, there will come a moment when you hit capacity. Documentation is the path to freedom. The more that you can create a playbook, create an instruction set, create a guide, a checklist, the more of those you create, the more you are creating opportunities for you to let go of things. Welcome to Your Business is Not Your Boss. I am your host, Geoff Welch, and I help small business owners overcome overwhelm and replace overthinking with intentional action. What is up? Welcome to episode 46 of Your Business is Not Your Boss. I am your host and small business coach, Geoff Welch, and today we're going to be talking about 5 steps to make 2025 the best year yet. All right, before we get into that, I do want to remind you, as part of this is part of how you get there, that I have a free PDF available called 3 questions every small business owner needs to answer before the end of the year that will really prompt you and prime you to consider some things about your business, to consider what you want from your business and what you are trying to get from your business instead of just working for your business, having your business work for you. Those questions will be addressed through this PDF. It is free, and oh, by the way, a handful of people are going to get the opportunity to have a free 90-minute strategy session with me before the year ends. I've got a handful of these things set up, and I would love for you to maybe be one of those people, all right? So just go to jeffwelch.com/questions to be able to download that PDF right now and get your chance to get, again, that free strategy session with me. You can take what you do through this PDF and really dive deep on it with me as we go and really help orient you to how you can proceed into the new year in a pretty powerful way to change your relationship with your business. All right, before we dive in to the topic du jour, I do want to say, you know, I live here in Alaska, and as the seasons change here in Alaska, by the time you hear this, it's going to be, squarely into November, much darker days, snow everywhere, cold, all that good stuff. As I do these recordings every week, I also pull a thumbnail image for YouTube, right? So if you're listening to this at the podcast version, your thumbnail every week looks pretty much the same, right? It's just the artwork for the podcast. But those of you who are catching this on YouTube, there is a picture cut from this episode, cut from each episode each week that makes up that thumbnail. And I have a template set up, right? And the template is the first photo, the photo from the first episode that's in there. And then every week I just, put the new photo in and take that one out. And every week my complexion gets a little bit more pale as I am enjoying less sunlight in my life throughout the course of this year. So I just wanted to give you some little inside baseball that I do go through a handful of different shades of Geoff, apparently, as the year goes on, and I am entering my fully pale stretch of the year here, where the light in Fairbanks, Alaska is absolutely at a premium. So we're still a little bit a ways from the darkest days, but yeah, I'm getting a little bit more ghosty over here. So let's talk, though, about 5 steps you can take to make 2025 your best year yet in your business. And I'm going to hit this pretty fast and furious because the last part of this is really about some things that you can do on a daily and weekly basis to keep consistent. And I'm going to dive into those across the next 3 weeks. I'm going to dive into those in more detail. So we're going to hit these pretty hard and quick, and I want to make sure you have some good insights for these, but I also don't want to take a ton of your time today because I want you to start thinking and working on these things, right? Sitting here listening to this podcast should be the catalyst for action, not just, that was interesting, I'm glad I heard that. Okay? So, step number one, let's dive right in. Step number one, figure out what you want more of and what you want less of. Okay, this is really the genesis of all of this, is determining the experience you're having with your business. What do you want to double down on? Man, I wish I could do this more. I wish I had more of this kind of relationship with my business. And what do you want less of? I've got a client who, man, she just does not want to have to deal with employee issues. And so part of that is a process of identifying, if I want less of that, what needs to happen? Because just wanting less of it is not good enough. Just wanting it to be different doesn't get you anywhere, right? So what we have to do is identify some of these things and determine, what is my ideal state? What do I really want for my business? What do I want it to provide for me? What do I want to experience as a small business owner? How do I want to feel? Like all of these things. I mean, obviously there are financial elements to this too, right? I'm not the finance guy, so I don't talk about that side a lot. There are plenty of other people out there who want to help you maximize every nickel and double your revenue and all those good things. I love it. I think that's fantastic. My area of interest and where I think I can help you the most is, what are you experiencing as a small business owner? Because that is a big, big part of it. This is your life. And ideally, you're going to be able to get the things you want out of your business so that you can feel like, man, this is giving me all that I want. Financially, yes, but also from just an experiential level, this is the kind of life that I want, and my business helps make that possible. So one thing that I would really encourage you to do as you explore, what do I want more of, what do I want less of, is to write up a job description for your business, right? Like if you were going to hire a new employee, you might say, I really need a job description for this role in my business. And that's going to ensure that my new employee knows what they're supposed to do and whether they're applying for the right job. And it helps me to hold them accountable to those things, because now we both have a shared understanding of what this role is for. What am I paying you to do? If that doesn't exist, it can be very confusing. I did all these things this week, but my boss is mad at me because they weren't the things that he or she wanted me to do. So when we clarify those things with one another, now we have the shared understanding of, you were supposed to do X, Y, Z. We both knew that, and you didn't do that. So that's why I'm frustrated. Your business is very similar. If you think about your business like an employee, like somebody, an entity that exists to serve you, to make things better for you, right? You don't hire an employee to make your life more difficult, right? So you are hiring an employee to take something off of your plate, to make something possible, to maybe help you increase revenue because now you have the ability to create more. If you look at your business through that same lens and you say, okay, what is this supposed to do for me? What do I want it to accomplish for me? What do I want more of? What do I want less of? And how do I sort of describe that as though it were an employee? You do that, and you have a pretty clear picture written down of whether your business is doing a good job or not. And sometimes I think, man, we as small business owners, we're frustrated with our businesses because they're not doing the thing we want, but we've never clarified what that want is. We just know it when it's missing, right? We know it when we're not getting it. And we haven't put it into words, and we're sort of like children to some degree, right? Small children, they know they're frustrated. They know that they want something to be different than it is, but they don't always have the language or the ability to express that well. And so they throw a tantrum, and so they whine. And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's not you. But I feel that way sometimes, right? I feel like there are days when I'm doing the adult version of a tantrum, when I'm just frustrated and upset about things because I've never clarified, I've never really gotten to the bottom of, what is this thing supposed to do for me, and what is it supposed to keep me away from, right? What are the things that I say, it makes me angry every time I have to do this. Why am I not building systems that help me avoid this? Okay, so step one, what do you want more of? What do you want less of? Write a job description for your business. Develop a picture of what it's supposed to do for you, so you know, is it or isn't it? Am I getting what I want? Am I not getting what I want? Okay. So once you have that, you can begin to identify activities and behaviors that are getting in the way. I hate to spoil this for you, but there is a good chance you are your business's own worst enemy. The way you spend your time, the way you focus your energy, the priorities that you are focused on, these are either making it more or less possible for your business to do what you want it to do for you, right? It can be easy to just say, well, this is what I want, and it should just be able to do those things. And in an ideal world, perhaps, but we live in a world of reality. And sometimes that means you're going to have to feed that system in order to get more of what you want out of it. Or you're going to have to build towards its ability to produce those things consistently for you. It's kind of like a car. When you are stopped in the middle of the road and you press the gas pedal down to begin to go, it takes a lot of energy to get that car moving. Once you're up to 50, 60 miles an hour, it takes a lot less energy to keep it moving, right? You have momentum working for you. And so your efficiency from your fuel or your batteries, whatever, is much greater once you're up at speed. And that's why it's much more costly from a fuel efficiency standpoint to stop and start and stop and start and stop and start, because that starting is the hard part. And this is kind of the same thing. The activities, the things that you do to set your business up to be something that can work for you, sometimes on the front end, there's some work that's involved. And most often there's some work that's involved. And ideally what you're doing is you're doing the work so that the business can then provide these yields for you over time that are much more efficient, much less costly from a you work perspective, right? But I can't promise you that's step one. Step one is you just decide you want your business to do all these things for you, and then it just magically does. You are going to have to optimize your activities to ensure that you're getting the business set up the way it needs to be set up, right? Are you spending the majority of your time focused on your priorities or on the distractions of the day? Are you busying yourself with things that are comfortable or fun, or maybe just, are like, I want to do this thing today, but avoiding the things that only you can do, that only the owner can provide, right? There are all these things that you get to choose, and there's no one really that can say boo because you're in charge. And yet, your ability to say, today I do the hard thing that I don't want to do because it's the thing only I can do, and I know that I can delegate some of the other things away. I know that I can get support from other people on these other things. I'm going to do the hard work because I know that the investment there is going to yield benefits for me down the road. It's going to make this something that it serves me better. So identify the activities, the behaviors that you employ on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that might be getting in the way of your business being the business you want and doing what you want it to do for you, okay? The clearer you get about what your best work, your best offering is into the business, the best investment you can make of your time, energy, and focus, when you are clear about what those things are, you know 100% when you're operating outside of them. And sometimes that is because you made a bad choice and you were like, yeah, I shouldn't have gotten involved in this project. I should have given this to somebody else. And sometimes it's because you're tired and you just want to do the easy thing. Sometimes that's going to happen. I don't know anybody that is maximally effective all the time, 100%. But I do think recognizing, yeah, today I'm going to take a day and I'm going to do a little less, but I can't live there. I think that's important, right? To recognize that that is a choice that you make because of your capacity and your capability at a given time, not a place to just fall back into and say, it's easier here. It's easier today, but it is not going to make things easier in the long run. You've got to be disciplined. You've got to make it easier for you to choose the right kind of activities. Okay? How are you spending your time? How are you leveraging your time, energy, and focus? And are you focused on the right priorities, or are you letting other things distract you? Okay. Number 3, start to create documentation for the stuff that you need to delegate. As you identify the things you should be doing, you're also, as a result, going to be identifying things that you do that you shouldn't be doing, right? Because you can't, there will come a moment when you hit capacity, right? You may be able to add some more best work into your current landscape and not stop doing any of the things you're currently doing. But eventually, you're probably going to find that to do the best work, you got to let go of some other things. And that always starts with documenting. I think documentation is the path to freedom. The more that you can create a playbook, create an instruction set, create a guide, a checklist, the more of those you create, the more you are creating opportunities for you to let go of things, right? And there is an investment on the front end. I understand that you are likely busy, there's a lot going on, and one of the reasons some of this stuff might not exist right now is because it takes time to make it. And I always come back to the investment today is designed to give you multiple benefits in the future. If this is the only time you'll ever do it, maybe you don't need to document it. But if it happens more than once, or if it's something that you absolutely hate doing, it's worth saying, what do I need to do to be able to communicate these instructions to somebody else? Telling them is one pathway, but that means you're going to have to repeat that telling every time you need someone else to do it or that person gets replaced. So telling is it's a pathway, but it's not the most effective because it involves you every time. Documenting, writing the instructions up in a Google document, creating a checklist that you can post on the wall. Here's the sequence of things. Using a tool like Loom on your computer to record yourself doing the process on screen so that someone else can watch it and learn from it. That then allows you to point someone in a direction and say, the instructions you're looking for, the information you need is right there. Let me know if you have questions, right? And as you field questions, you tweak the instructions that you've created in order to cover those things. But ultimately, you're creating a catalog and a library that allows you to let go of things and get them out of your way so that you can begin to delegate more. Okay? Begin documenting the things. I say start simple, but start. The worst thing you can do is not start. The worst thing you can do is not doing it poorly, because doing it poorly will help you to do it better the next time and you will improve. Not doing it is the worst mistake you can make. Start simple. Start with something you hate doing. Start with something that is mission critical. Start with something that is easy, but just start. Find a thing that you can say, I'm going to create documentation for this today, and look what happens over 6 months. You keep doing it, look what happens. All right, so once you've collected some of this documentation, once you've got some instructions, the ability to hand things off, it's time to start identifying employees, contractors, software to whom you can delegate. The likelihood that you're going to be able to take everything you want to let go of and just let go of it immediately is pretty low. I would love to tell you that you could do that. Just decide what you don't want to do and then stop doing it and someone else will do it. There are costs associated with having other people do work for you, right? You understand that. So it's not necessarily an instantaneous pathway, but I am convinced that the sooner you start looking and you start orienting yourself to the idea that there are opportunities to delegate, maybe some creative opportunities, like you will see more possibility than you do today. If your mindset is focused on, no one else can do this, we don't have the ability to hire new employees, like we just can't, there's no way to delegate, then you're going to get what you expect. You're going to prove yourself right, I promise you. But what if you oriented yourself in a way that says there are creative opportunities to offload some of these things? And maybe not all of them, maybe not today, but there are pathways. The more you focus your mind in that direction, the more you will see opportunities. And so it doesn't have to be a full-time W-2 employee for you to be able to delegate. There probably are some things that you are doing right now you could hand to somebody on your team and say, you could absorb this today. It's not super big. It's not super complicated. It's not super time consuming. I just don't need it. I don't need to be the person doing this, or I don't need to be in the middle of this process anymore. Other things, maybe you need to look at a contractor, somebody who's fractional, somebody who is, my assistant is, 30 hours a month. I don't need somebody who is there every minute of the day, but there are things that I need to get done that I need to be able to hand off. And so there are pathways to find people who don't work for you all the time, but can still take things on and can allow you to push some things off your plate. Software, AI continues to just melt brains around the world in terms of what it is able to accomplish and what is able to streamline, or at least to make more efficient. But there are lots of tools out there that likely would be able to take some of the stuff you do by hand, some of the stuff you do yourself, and automate it and streamline it. At the very least, to make it much more efficient, so it requires you or somebody else much less time to do. Like, what if delegating didn't mean giving the whole thing away, but what if delegating could mean now I only do 10% of it because there's a tool that helps to take off the majority of it. I think of I probably talk about this too much, but I think of my washer and dryer. I delegate a task to them, right? I still have to be involved in some way. I got to stick it in the machine. I don't have a robot yet that just does the whole process for me. But I stick it in the machine, and the machine works for an hour. And then I stick it in another machine, and it works for another hour. And then I fold some clothes. So this 2-hour process of washing clothes is really about 10 minutes of effort for me, from collecting, switching, and folding. It doesn't take that long. What are the ways that you could hand off to somebody you already have, find somebody new, find a contractor, find somebody who is part-time, somebody who only does the thing that you need done, and they just do it for 100 people instead of doing a bunch of other things? What is some software that might be able to take some, or at least, if not all, then some off of your plate, to make it easier for you to complete a task in 5 minutes instead of half an hour? Okay, look for those things. The more that you look for them, the more you will see them. And then finally, review your progress. Building a business that works for you, it is not a set it and forget it kind of thing. It is not the kind of thing where you just say, I decided that this is the kind of business I want, and because of that, now it exists. It is a matter of being very intentional over time, of being very focused on how you are going to leverage your time, energy, and focus to position yourself in your business to do those things for you, right? So what I recommend is a handful of rituals, a handful of ways of starting, ending, reviewing that put you in the right position to focus on your priorities, not be as distracted. You're going to get distracted, I promise you. These things bring you back, okay? So I have a workday startup ritual, I have a workday shutdown ritual, and then I have like a weekly review ritual. And so I'm going to give you three quick example of those things. And these three things I'm going to go into much more depth in the coming episodes, because I think that they are really valuable practices that could be useful to you. So my workday startup, I get into my office, I turn on some classical music. I am reviewing and responding to messages. I'm checking my calendar to see what I have arranged for the day. Does anything need to be renegotiated, reconsidered? I am reviewing sales for my printing company, orienting myself to kind of the progress that they're making there, and just ensuring that I have that stream of consciousness about what's happening there, since I'm rarely involved there. I set, important alarms on my watches for important meetings. That's just something I use to keep me focused because I don't have some of the regular rhythms since I'm here at my house. But it's just a way of starting my day in a similar way, of ensuring that I'm focused on the right things, and of really having this shift from being a regular person to being a businessman, a business person, right? At the end of the day, I do something similar and kind of in reverse, but there again, I review messages. I am engaged in like email and stuff like that throughout the day, but I try not to live in those places. I know that at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, I'm going to take a deeper dive there. And there are a couple of other times during the day that I sort of intersect with those things and recalibrate. But so at the end of the day, I am ensuring that I'm responding to anything that's come in that I need to respond to. If I have networking events or just any other things I've collected during the day, I'm ensuring those get into my system. I'm ensuring that I don't lose things that I want to follow up on. I'm finalizing notes from client sessions. I am generally taking notes during one-to-one client sessions, but sometimes when you get cooking, it's hard for me to be taking notes while we're really going through it. And so depending on how much time I have between sessions, sometimes I can finalize those things. But at the end of the day, I ensure before I lose my memory of some of those things, some of the specifics, that I've captured that and that those notes are completed. I'm rescheduling any work that either took longer than I expected it to, or because of some other important thing that popped up, I had to renegotiate and I had to reconsider. I'm rescheduling those things out into the future. And then I take a minute or two to just consider what worked and what didn't. How pleased am I with the way I operated today? Did I make good choices? Was I more distracted than I wanted to be? What can I do about those things? I'm just sort of like reviewing, did I do what I needed to do today? And then I look into my calendar for the next day, kind of orient myself to what I'm going to be walking into in the morning, and then I reset my workspace, clean up just a little bit so that when I come back, it's the way that I want it to be when I enter in the morning. And then finally, on Friday, I do a deeper dive on all my projects and tasks to ensure that things that have been completed are being removed. I know what needs to happen next on any projects that I've accomplished something but haven't decided what happens next. I'm really taking a deep dive on ensuring everything has a next action and that I have real clarity about what happens next. I'm confirming the topic I record podcasts every Monday. I'm confirming the topic for that and can kind of set myself up to be thinking about that more in depth over the weekend. I'm considering if my actions for the week on the whole, did I accomplish what I was hoping to accomplish? Was I moving in the right direction? Or was I distracted? Was I moving backwards? Was I running down some other rabbit trails? And then I identify my priorities for the coming week, and I time block accordingly. I'm blocking out time to say these are the times when I'm going to actually work on these things because I've identified them as being important. And if something else comes up, it has to be more important than this for it to take precedence, right? So if you want 2025 to be different, you're going to have to behave differently. Hope is not a strategy here, right? Like just wanting next year to be better or wanting your business to align more with what your hopes and dreams are, wanting it is not enough. You have to take action. You have to behave in ways that get you more of that, all right? So these 5 steps are a great way to begin focusing on getting more of what you want. And if you need help along the way, I'm just a click away, okay? If you need help along the way, I hope you will reach out. I love to help people really lock these things in and to hold people accountable to their goals, to really help them make progress towards the things that they say they want to make progress on, because distractions are everywhere and they are a big deal sometimes. Just a quick reminder before I go, that PDF, 3 questions every small business owner needs to ask before the end of the year. It's free. It's at jeffwelch.com/questions. And in addition to really prompting you to consider what you want from your business in the coming year, again, there's an opportunity to get a free 90-minute strategy session with me. Okay? I think that could be a great opportunity for you to not only be thinking differently about your business, but really tie it to some concrete plans to really dial it in. Okay? jeffwelch.com/questions. All right, that's it from me, but do not forget, your business is not your boss.